next we will have Pastor Donald Hunter join us again at the microphone. Cleo Fields was not able to join us today. You see his name on the program. He had a family emergency. And so in his stead, we have Pastor Hunter, who will be presenting the Lifetime Achievement Award to Ben Jeffers.
Let the church say amen. Thank God. This is truly a great honor. It's obvious that I'm not Cleo Fields. About 2 feet tall and 50 pounds heavier. And I want to say hello to my senator, Senator Cheryl Weston-Brown. Most of you already know, some may not. But Ben and I go back a long time. And we have been very close friends. And you have in your program a sketch, a biographical sketch of who he is, of his involvement nationally and at the state level in campaigns for more than 40 years. And you have some information about his involvement with various national Democratic committees. But I would start by saying that he is the husband of Salami Jeffers and the father of BJ. And I'll let you know. And I was brought into state government by Ben Jeffers and A.Z. Young. 25 years of state service in the Louisiana State Department of Education. Not only was I brought into the state government, but I have a wife and children and nephews, and it goes on and on and on, that have served careers in state government. All of which we're blessed to have this opportunity because of Ben and because of this honorable man sitting here, the Honorable Governor Edwin Edwards. Ben and I set out in 1982. You see that noted in this bio as well. He wanted to deal with increasing the number of black people that were registered to vote in the state of Louisiana. And he called me to his house and he said, look, I think we need to march from Shreveport to Baton Rouge. And I said, man, that's a long ways. What do you mean, Shreveport to Baton Rouge? It's 319 miles. Yeah, but we're gonna stop along the way, and we're gonna have voters registration marches in the evening, and we will meet with churches as we go. And I want to know if I do this, would you go with me? And I said, well, if you're asking me, I guess I have to. And so we set out to march from Shreveport to Baton Rouge. And he walked every step of the way. And one day we were out there, temperatures similar to what they are now, the 90-degree range. And I believe that the people who stopped by meant really well. And so they brought us a whole lot of Cokes. But Coca-Cola doesn't do well in heat. The ambulance was running all day long with people falling out along the highway. And somehow or another we managed that somewhere near Coachella, Louisiana. He has accomplished some things in state government that very few have. He served as the first chief of staff. Somebody ought to say amen. And he did some extraordinary things under Governor Edwin Edwards, one of which was in the State Department of Education. He was the one who facilitated the $4.5 million that allowed us to put over 200 after-school tutoring programs throughout the state of Louisiana. He was the one that allowed us to put 50 computer labs in black churches all over the state of Louisiana, and 50 multicultural libraries, because we knew that our children were behind, and we knew that they needed to catch up. The academic gap is still there. We've talked about everything but closing the academic gap. That's what education should be about today. Ben Jefferson understood that, and the thing that I liked about him is that if it was a real issue, he didn't have any problems with facing up to it. And that's what's valuable about such a friend as Ben Jefferson. Every step of the way, he was there in order to accomplish these things, and I commend him for that. He could have easily said, well, that's too much money, but he didn't. He took it, went to the governor with it, carried it before the legislature, and they voted for it with a very significant amount of representation from the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus. I also want to say that that Ben has not only been a dear friend, but when we finished the march from Shreveport to Baton Rouge, we did a second march from Tallulah to Monroe. That march was about education. He was out there in 100-degree temperatures. And another young man that was supposed to introduce him tonight was out there on the road with us. His name was Cleo Fields. And we were able to introduce the fact that we needed to teach our children in our schools, in our churches in the evening, in order for them to catch up. We need to go back to that. They're falling further and further behind. We need more Ben Jeffers in position of power in order to be able to facilitate the changes that we need in our community today. And then finally, I would say that Ben is one that have traveled the nation. Most of the time when I call him, it sounds like I'm speaking to him in Baton Rouge, but he laughs at me because he may be in San Francisco, New York, or Philadelphia. He may be anywhere on this continent. That's his working field. And tomorrow morning, he's probably in another state of the nation as well. But I've enjoyed our friendship. I count it a great honor to introduce him tonight for this award. And I'll leave you with this. It was, you know, he was a sergeant in the Marine, and he told me about this. He said, Don, I was on furlough, and I took my money, and I went and bought me a nice suit. And he said, now, the suit I had, he said, they put this, you know, back then it was the kind of them Vietnam suits, they had plastic thread in them. He sent the suit to the cleaners and got it all pressed up. He said he was walking downtown, and the brother walked up from him behind and said, Ben, he said, you know, I hate to tell you this, you clean as you can be. He said, but all your A is out.
Our chair, Ms. Collins. She's done a remarkable job here putting together this event. At one point, I chaired the Parish Committee, but we didn't do nothing like this. This is great. I'd like to also start by thanking my wife, who, you know, you only can get a lifetime award if you have somebody that helps you get there. And she's looking That's good. Next year we will celebrate 50 years of marriage. also invited a number of people here. Don, you didn't know this, but half the people here tonight, people that I personally invited. And the people that I personally invited are my best friends. So I want to thank all of my best friends, and that's the entire room, for being here to witness this tonight. I also would be remiss if you know, I've had some wonderful opportunities in life, and if it wasn't for Governor Edwards, most of the opportunities I've had wouldn't have happened. And Governor Edwards is going to tell you a story tonight. And when you hear this story, I'm going to give you the end of the story. He's going to tell you that when I first met him, I wanted a job at the post office. But what he's not going to tell you is that he was the first congressman in Louisiana to appoint a black postmaster when he was in Congress. So I had that bit of information when I asked him about a job in the post office. So I'll let him tell the rest of the story. But a couple more, and I know, and I really appreciate this honor, but again, I think there are 2 points that I'd like to make, and they all relate to Governor Edwards. One is, when I was first appointed to a state position, Governor Edwards appointed me as head of the Human Relations Commission. Before me, actually before that appointment, there was only a couple African Americans appointed to state government by John McKithen, and one was Jesse Stone, and he was the deputy director of the Human Relations Commission. This was in 1968. Okay? The day that Governor Edwards appointed me, he also appointed 4 other African Americans, and there were 5 of us. So the headlines all across the state was, Edwards appoints 5 blacks to state government. You know, I remember that very vividly. The other thing I'd like to say is, fast forward about 20 years, I was Governor Edwards' chief of staff. And I can remember going to Southern University to moderate a panel of Governor Edwards' appointees, African-American appointees. There was Rose Forrest, Secretary of Health and Hospitals, the largest department of state government, African-American, a graduate of Southern University. There was Jude Partan, Secretary of Department of Transportation and Development, graduate of Southern University. There was Gloria Bryan Banks, Secretary of Social Services, African-American. She was a graduate of Dillard University. There was Ralph Slaughter, Secretary of the 4th largest department of state government, and he was Secretary of Revenue and Taxation. There was Kim Hunter, Press Secretary to the governor, and I was Chief of Staff. I'm telling you, there was not and has not been another state in America to have that many African Americans serving at the same time ever in the history of America. And forgive me if I spent most of my time talking about Governor Edwards. But he has been an important part of my life, and again, one of my best friends. But again, thank you for this honor, and I know you're standing here beside me, and we'll talk about that next week. Thank you very much.